In a world where war never ends, one man carries the weight of a generation, survivor of the battlefield, bringing you hard truths and hot lead, reviews from the locker, and trips to the meat grinder. Now he's taking you behind enemy lines, not into combat, into truth. Stories from 1st Recon Battalion, with no BS conversations. Marine veteran Brad Iceman Colbert, where legends tell it like it is. This is not just a podcast, it's a mission.
Alrighty, next up, this is from Ragnar. He's a Patreon member again.
Great news.
He says, as I am a soldier on NATO's eastern frontier, I'd really love to hear your perspective on the idea that has been floated around for decades by now of decreasing US presence in Europe. How fast of a timetable would you consider to be realistic for a pseudo-US disentanglement, as some within the current US administration might call it?
I don't think it's going to happen. I really don't. I think it's mutually beneficial. It provides the United States with defense in depth. It gives a huge security blanket to the countries that host U.S. forces in that region. I don't see a retrograde. You know, we tried the Monroe Doctrine, pulling everybody back and like, all right, everyone out of the pool, let's go. It briefs well. We'll definitely save a lot of money. There's not another country on the planet that has the ability to base the way we do. We have forces everywhere. And where we don't, we put them on ships and they patrol the oceans. It comes at a cost. So unless it is financially prohibitive, I don't see a disentanglement. I see a burden shift, but that doesn't equate to, you know, Lake and Heath closing, Ramstein closing, Korea closing, and all those troops coming back. I don't see it. I just don't.
Sounds good to me. All right, this one is from Andy. He's an FMF Fleet Marine Force. Fleet Marine what? Have I got that right?
Yeah, FMF, Fleet Marine Force.
FMF Corpsman, yes.
Yep.
We like Corpsman.
We love Corpsman.
He's already a badass in my eyes.
Yep.
Okay, are you ready?
Yes, please.
You guys really were role models in a way for a generation of young people going into the military. Everybody knew about Generation Kill. My question is, how realistic was it truly? We always looked up to Recon, even if we wouldn't admit it. And why would you? There is a lot of pride in a rifle company. The show and book are very reflective of being in a grunt battalion with the haircuts and the stupidity. Was Recon really that way at that time? That blew our minds about the book and the show. Never thought it went on in cool guy units like it did for us.
I think there's a lot of perceptions that don't necessarily reflect reality. There was a disproportionate amount of attention given to the grooming standards during that 2003 evolution, but that was part and parcel of the sergeant major's belief that good order and discipline were brought about by things like that. And that's fine. Like, that was his shtick. It doesn't mean that that was necessarily the hill to die on in garrison. There were other things to worry about. Now, Marines weren't growing beards. The hair was not out of Marine Corps regulations. No one stopped being a Marine in Recon. But the mission set that was asked of us put priority on other things and not so much, you know, how pressed is your uniform and did you get a haircut every Sunday? And so I don't want to say that it wasn't realistic, because it was, but it was also given more attention than perhaps is reflective of everyday life in a recon unit. I'm flattered that you would look up to us. I actually looked up more to you. You did a job I didn't want to do. I don't want to dig in blood and guts if I don't have to. So I think you're doing a fantastic job.
Nicely put. All right. NW would like to know, What happened after Evan Wright left? So I guess after the show ended.
He wrote another book. It was not as successful as Generation Kill. He did independent reporting, freelance stuff. And then, as we've talked about on the show, he took his life not too long ago. So there were projects in the works that will never come to fruition, and a family that will never have a father and a husband.
All right. Back to Generation Kill. Again, this is from Reddit. What does it mean when they said up 700 and up?
It's an ACE report, ammo casualties and equipment. It's a very abbreviated shorthand for I'm up on personnel, I have 700 rounds of ammo, and I'm up on equipment, right? In a combat situation, brevity is extremely important, so it's kind of a shorthand. You know, if you watch like movies or TV shows where they're in a diner and they order food and the waitress screams something in the kitchen that sounds like it's a ridiculous language, it's shorthand for whatever the customer ordered. Well, yeah, the military has a lot of stuff like that, and that's all that meant is, you know, again, up on personnel, 700 rounds, and up on all equipment. I haven't lost or misplaced anything.
Good to go. Thank you. And back slightly, what happened to you and your guys after Evan left? What in Iraq?
I mean, we had a couple more things to do, but not a whole lot, and we basically retrograded. It was pretty boring, you know. Long stretches of sitting around, and then everybody sort of phased back to Kuwait, and then from there back to the United States. Some people went early, an advanced party. Some people stayed late. Some people were in the main body. Yeah, I mean, like I talked about earlier, nobody would watch a movie if they showed all the boring parts.
Let's go. Okay. This is anonymous via email.
Okay.
I am a junior OF3, not US, and always found myself taking a lot of inspiration from Nate Fick as a great, effective leader, but someone who also respected his NCO's experience and let them work while shielding them from the worst from above.
Yeah.
Were you really that close to him? And do you keep up with him now after he's had quite a storied civilian career?
Yes, I was that close with him. I knew him before he was my platoon commander in 2001 in Afghanistan. He was a infantry platoon commander, and I had the opportunity to support as a recon team his company, right? His platoon, part of an overarching company. So we were in general support of Nate in 2001. Fast forward 03, he's now come over to Recon and my platoon commander. And yes, I had tremendous respect for him. I have tremendous respect for him to this day. I do keep in contact with him. In fact, spoiler alert, he is going to come onto the podcast coming up. I'm not going to exactly say when. You're going to have to tune in and hear it. But we are going to have a sit down one-on-one with Nate and get caught up.
Q screaming. I think I've read his book 17 times. It's my comfort read.
Yeah, it's a good book.
All right, let's move on.
Yep.
A Reddit user would like to know how useful was your CMD40? He says, I'm a bit of a watch nerd and didn't know it existed until watching the show.
So the CMD40 is actually a version of the watch that operated TVs and VCRs. Mine is a version that had a built-in GPS. So similar in looks, but different in function. Worked well. It worked well at the time. And in that time and place, it was like, man, that's some far out tech shit. Now, you know, our phones do everything that watch did. And something the size of that watch is been replaced with GPSs that do the same functionality. But yeah, I love it. I still have it. If I had time, I'd bring it out. I don't have time. I'm not going to bring it out, but I do still have it. It works. Yeah. For the time that it was made, pretty kick-ass. A GPS and a watch. That's awesome.
It's pretty awesome. It still works and everything.
Oh, yeah.
All right. We've got just a couple left.
Okay, let's do it.
All right. I'm putting off reading one, so let's go to the next one.
Okay.
This Reddit user would like to know, how did you let go of being in uniform? Not like how did the retirement process go? I mean, when something is part of your life that much, as it's not what you do, it's who you are. What steps did you take to move on from being Master Sergeant Colbert to being Brad again?
Nothing. I left the Marine Corps on a Friday. I was in my new job on a Sunday, I believe. Yeah, Sunday. I had 24 hours of limbo before I was on to the next thing. You have to try to find a facsimile of that culture as best you can. And I did. The job that I took in the government had a lot of foreign, prior service military guys, and that same kind of clique, the same kind of dialogue, and the same kind of social interaction. It's the one thing that the military has that you can't emulate anywhere else unless you've been in it. And that's the free flow of communication without social editing. Not that you treat each other like dirt or, the F word is a comma. It's people in the military appreciate direct and candid conversation, and they become accustomed to it. So when you find a culture and environment after the military that still has that, it's really refreshing and people tend to embrace it. So for me, I was very fortunate. I found myself in a job with a lot of prior military, different branches, right? Still civilian, but very much cut from the same cloth. So that's how I did it. Not everybody does. A lot of people become institutionalized and have a really hard time adapting to life post-military. And it's discussions that we've had where in the past on the show where we've talked about, there's a boot camp to teach you how to be, transform you from a civilian to the military, but there's no real reverse process of going from civilian or from military to civilian. And there probably should. There probably should. And there's going to be some people that argue with me, well, there's transition programs. It's not the same. It's not the same.
Yeah, no arguments from me on that. All right, I've been putting this off. I Googled this. I don't know what it means.
Okay.
It might be rude. It's going to sound ridiculous in my stupid accent.
No, nothing sounds ridiculous in your accent.
This will. Okay, what's your go-to grub when you gassing off the grizzy? What the fuck?
So, if I understand the question correctly...
You don't, probably.
I'm going to make an assumption that what is my late night snack when I'm either drunk or high? I don't get high, and it takes a lot to get me drunk. But I understand the question. For me, it's a chicken salad sandwich from Wawa. I love Wawa. If you don't have one in your state, I get it. You have something similar to it. It is a gas station within a kitchen in the gas station, not out where they pump the gas, all right? Inside, where you can order food fresh and they'll make it for you. And they have a menu item that is a chicken salad sandwich, a club chicken salad sandwich, which is fucking amazing with bacon and cheese and lettuce and tomato. And I love it. And it's delicious. It is nothing like the chippies from England, Anna. We've talked about that. Or the kebab stands, which are in a whole nother category. But for Yank food, you can't. But for Yank food, yeah, that's it.
I've had Wawa food. It's delicious. I'll agree.
Yeah.
I don't eat in gas stations, but that's one I make an exception for. All right. Another Reddit one. My question is, I recently got promoted to team leader, and while it's not military, we are a team that deals with high stakes and high risks, industrial fire and rescue. I guess I'm wondering if you have any tips to bring out the best in myself as a team leader in my own team in times of high energy and high hazard.
High energy and high hazard typically mean crisis for me, and crisis leadership is different than everyday leadership. In crisis leadership, it's candor over charisma, it's constant communication, it's checking in with your people. In a crisis, everyone knows what they're supposed to do. They just are looking for reassurance from a leader to galvanize them towards a direction. As far as advice goes, I would practice being in a crisis and try to stress inoculate yourself as much as possible. What I have seen take place most commonly in a crisis is paralysis. And that's death, absolute death. It's that inability to make a decision, right, wrong, or indifferent. The worst thing you can do is not make one. So put yourself in simulations. And I know you do. You do rehearsals, whatever your skill set and discipline is. You just need to do more of it and try to what if whatever scenario you can. And even if you don't have the whole team with you, you can do mental preparation. The thing about the brain is the brain can't differentiate between mentally playing through something in your head and actually doing it, which is why a lot of pro athletes, when they're not on the field, they will mentally walk through a game, throwing a ball, catching a ball, reacting to another player. And it's no different than if they were actually out there on the field shooting the ball or doing whatever. And you can do the same thing provided you have done it once before. Just keep repetition. As much of that as you can possibly do is probably what I would suggest for crisis leadership, putting yourself in high-risk situations. The rest of the leadership traits we've talked about earlier in the show, Anna, and so they can refer back to that.
We have. Good. All right. We've 3 left, but they're all connected. So really it's one.
Okay, go for it.
One squashed together. We're going back to the beginning. You're going back to Bravo 2. Which members do you still keep in touch with, and is the connection still strong?
I keep in touch with a pretty decent number. I mean, I suppose the connection is as strong as it is when you consider everyone has their own lives and wives and children and careers, and we're all scattered across the United States, and a lot of life has happened. But yeah, there's people that I don't keep in touch with for no other reason than they've just fallen off the radar. But I do keep in touch with Ray. I talk to Rudy Reyes. I talk to Nate Fick, Mike Wynn, Tony Aspera, Lily, Cucker, Trombley even. I will talk to as many as I can. Pappy, right? But then there's some people that have just no longer in my orbit. Yeah.
Which is very natural. Yeah.
Yeah, it is.
Will you and the team be holding any reunions or gatherings in the future?
We did a 20-year reunion when it was 20 years, a couple of years ago. There is discussions about having just a Bravo 2-1 reunion. It's going to be very hard to pull off, but maybe we might. There's nothing in the works though. There's nothing in the works, but there was a reunion for Recon for the 20-year anniversary of the invasion of Iraq. And I think that was videoed and is out there in the YouTube channel somewhere.
Oh, excuse me, swallowing my drink.
That's all right. I'll do the same.
Good thinking. Cheers. Good health and all that. Finally, last one. We've made it.
Oh, I love it.
Are you planning, you've answered this partially, are you planning to invite Rudy, Nate, Tony, or others onto your podcast in upcoming episodes?
We're definitely going to have all three. All three. I don't want to say when, because part of that is a production and scheduling dilemma. Some of it is a bit of a surprise. And I would just say tune in, because the answer is yes.
Lovely. Sounds great. That's it.
Anna, you did so well.
You did so well. Are you spent?
I have much more endurance than that. And I really appreciate it. And more importantly, I appreciate you, the listener, who's taken the time to appreciate the messaging, the opinions, the news. I hope it's been entertaining, informative. It's certainly many times vulnerable. Don't shy away. Continue to ask questions, make comments, and criticize. I will freely admit that I have misspoken at times throughout the show, have said the wrong thing when I meant something else, or perhaps jumped to a conclusion that I shouldn't have, and it has been you, the listener, that has brought me back towards the front and center, and I appreciate all of you, sincerely. This has been fun. We'll look forward to doing it again for the Carry On podcast, Ask Me Anything edition. I am Brad Colbert, the Iceman, and as always, I wish all of you a wonderful day and stay frosty.
Improvise, adapt, and overcome.